Ray Beers, a name you'll never know, probably nobody knows that name in this room, was a pitching coach for the Chicago White Sox back in the 40s and 50s and early 60s. And one of the pitchers that he had on his staff back in those days was a man named Bob Shaw. And Bob Shaw is the first guy who actually codified or codified or put down in words what pitchers' mechanics should be like. Nobody had done this before Bob Shaw did it. And he wrote a book just called Pitching back in the late 60s, early 70s. That's the 1970s. I know I've been around since the 1870s. But, and that book, I heard him speak at the first ABCA Convention I went to in 1974 in Chicago, Illinois, in a snowstorm, or 1973, excuse me, in a snowstorm. It took us 4 hours to drive from Milwaukee to Chicago. It's normally an hour and a half drive. Myself and another assistant coach. And I was so impressed by what Shaw did. And I was not a pitcher. I played outfield, I played first base. I didn't know anything about pitching. And so I knew I was going to get a head coaching job the next year, and I had to learn about pitching. I listened intently to what he said. I talked to him later in the hall, in the corridors, because nobody showed up for the clinic. There was this blizzard, and the first day, there were only about 250 people there. So I got to meet Ted Williams, who was there. I got to talk to Bob Shaw. It was a great clinic for me. I spent the whole night in our hotel room with my assistant coach, going through all these pitching movements Shaw was talking about. And we started forming drills. Got to know Derek Johnson. Steve mentioned him. Ron Wolfer's friend. Brent Strom. Brent texts me all the time. Great guy. These are great pitching people. So my theories and my philosophies, I've stolen from the best people. And good coaches steal. We're all good thieves. But you have to steal from the right people. And Steve mentioned Paul Nyman. Paul Nyman's kind of like the hermit of baseball. He's everyone that I know that is a pitching coach. In fact, in a month from now, I'm going to be at Ron Wolfer's pitching coaches boot camp in Houston, Texas, with the best pitching coaches in the world. And hopefully I'm going to learn some more stuff. But Paul Nyman everyone talks about him. He's this guy who's just brilliant, but he's not a speaker. He'd be too frustrated to get up in front of an audience. I've talked to him and tried to get him to do things at clinics. So is Ron Wolfer. He's just not that kind of person. But that's who I've learned from. And Franz Bosch, who's also been mentioned by a couple people already today. So what I'm going to talk about is how you teach these movements. How do you teach mechanics and movements? I go back a long time ago. I was researching. I'm writing a book about throwing, a book about hitting. And came across the Bernstein principle, which Ron Wolfer talks about all the time, and a lot of good pitching coaches talk about it. And that's basically the body will organize itself based on the ultimate goal of the activity. And if you go on the internet, you can look up Bernstein, Nikolai Bernstein. He was a Soviet neurophysiologist. I became kind of enamored with him because I was doing some work on this book I was doing about playing games and a different way to teach how to teach or coach baseball. And I looked at javelin throwers, and I started talking to a guy from Finland on the internet. We started, this is the early days of the internet. Right? Bodenlich might say I used Morse code or smoke signals for the blanket. And he mentioned this guy's name, so I started looking him up. And he was a very obscure, self-taught, basically, a self-taught scientist. But what he said here is basically how I approach coaching and how I think every coach should approach working with kids. Every kid's different. And Steve just had a slide up, a movie up there. I wish I had that movie. I'd show it. You had Yasiel Puig throwing from the outfield. Now, he was an outfielder. And if you looked at that, if you can remember back to that clip that Steve just had on, right? You notice his release point was different. His release point as an outfielder was a lot different than the pictures he was showing earlier in the presentation. And the reason was his ultimate goal was different. He wasn't trying to throw a strike from 60 feet 6 inches. He was trying to throw a ball 300 feet. All right? So his body organized itself just a little bit differently. He still had rotation in the back hip. He planted his foot, right? But his release point was different because his ultimate goal was different. And that's been my philosophy about all these drills that I use. And I picked up drills. The drills I'm going to talk about here are drills. Some of you have seen some of these drills, and I hope some of you have not seen some of these drills. Because that's what I want you to do. I want you to learn so you can become better coaches and come back and grow the game better in Europe. I also talk about, and this led me to this next point about Bernstein here. What's the intent? What is your intent to do? And I hate the word velocity. I'll probably say that about 5 times during the course of this clinic, because in the States we've abbreviated it to velo. And if you go to any of these high-priced baseball academies, they all talk about velo, like it's some sort of a vitamin you take, or a supplement, a mineral supplement. But velocity, I think, comes from your intent. If you want to throw hard, you've got to have the intent to throw hard. So, Steve mentioned earlier, Steve Sperry talked about confidence. And that's what I think intent is. Intent and confidence are both the same thing. You've got to want to do this. You've got to have confidence in your ability to do this. So, main principles of pitching. This is what I've taught this for years. All pitchers need to have movement. They need to have location, put the ball where they want to put it, some velocity, and fourth, and this is the one that's not talked about very often, having deception. You've got to be able to deceive a hitter, and that's hide the ball a little bit. And some of the good pitchers that if you watch the World Series, some of these guys from the Astros, who are not the hardest throwers, had good deception, hit the ball well. These are my absolutes, and a lot of them, you've heard Steve talk about his absolutes, and Johnson talked about his absolutes. These are mine. I want my pitchers to stay closed. And in a way, tangentially, Steve talked about this earlier, keeping the top half of the body closed. Get the butt home. John talked about mass, took the M away, and it's getting that big part of your body home first. Okay. I want to have the glove in the box. John's mentioned that term with some of the things he was talking about last night. I want the glove, and I have bad shoulders, so I can't get my arms as high as I want to get them. All right, I got to have this one replaced and probably this one a little bit later. All right, I want that glove out in front. I want it up here. And John talked about getting this angle here, getting that glove up here. Some of the films I'm going to show you, the kid doesn't do that, but that's because when I did this filming, it was back in September before I went to New Zealand to do a clinic, and I couldn't get my number 1 and number 2 and number 3 pitchers were all playing football. I couldn't get them that night, so I got a sophomore. So you're going to see, maybe as coaches, you can tell me what he's doing wrong. All right. So one of the things he doesn't do right, he doesn't get his glove in the box. Doesn't get his glove high enough, and that means that his front shoulder is going to open up too soon. Stabilize, stay back. What did Steve just talk about? What was he? With the back side here, sitting down on that chair, what is that happening? They're staying back, the pitchers are staying back. I also think that it's very important as a pitcher, when you throw your fastball, that you throw your fastball at different speeds. And I always use the terms 50, 70, 90. And I might yell this from the dugout out to the field. Yeah, give me a 50%, 70%. I just say 50, 70, 90. You don't ever want to have 100%, because what happens? Somebody tell me what happens when someone tries to throw 100%. What's a kid going to do the first time he tries to throw 100%? Tell me what happens.
The button will finally get the timing and start hitting him hard.
The batter, but how about the pitcher himself? What's going to happen to that kid's body, to his movements? If he's trying to throw 100%, Steve?
He's going to tighten up. He's going to tighten up.
He's got to tighten up. You grab a baseball, and they're going to grab that ball, they're going to be really, really aggressive in the baseball, and they're going to tighten up. First of all, the forearm tightens up, then the shoulders. Nothing's just loose and flexible. In order to be a good pitcher, you have to be loose, you have to be flexible. Okay? What happened? I don't know. Excuse me, guys. No, we're just not. I didn't see that. I want pitchers to be athletes, and I want them to finish, which a lot of coaches misinterpret, and Steve talked about this also, about extension. Is that what you're talking about, extension, Steve? Yeah. I want them to finish their pitches, and that's a little bit different than extending and getting out too far and wrecking their movements. So I'm going to talk about some drills. We do these drills. There's about 15 of them on here. We don't do them every day. Most of this stuff probably should be done in the winter. I can't, as a coach in high school in the United States, I can't work with my kids until March 12th, once school is started. So I'm hoping my kids are doing this on their own. We have open gyms. Basically, they come to the gym and they throw and they hit. And I'm there to supervise, but technically I'm not supposed to talk to them about anything they're doing. I can just watch them, supervise them. But hopefully, what I've taught them in the season, we talk about all these drills and what they should be doing on their own during the winter. But each one of these drills teach the same, a lot of these drills teach the same thing, but it's a different way. And you have to be able to, as a coach, you want to make practice interesting. You want your kids to be excited about coming to practice. And so many times we do the same thing every day and it gets boring. We don't want kids to be bored. Andre talked a little bit about that last night. We want them excited. We want them to have fun. So by changing drills, even though they teach the same thing, you can get kids to have a little different. You have a different approach to the same drill. Kids have more fun. This is the first one. These are simple. A lot of these you've done. This teaches a good arm swing and a scapular load. I'm not going to talk about these mechanical, muscular things as kinesiologists talk about, scap load and scap pinch. But this is what it looks like. And we start our basic throwing. They're playing catch together in the gym. This is one of the first things we do every day. And that's just a simple, see as he swings his arms, he's pinching his scapular muscles in the back of his body, which is what you want a pitcher to do when he's getting ready to get at this position right here. Okay, he's ready to throw. We do a 2-knee toss. We get the pitcher will get down on 2 knees. They have the glove ahead of the throwing leg. John, can you come demonstrate this for me? Because I can't, if I do this, I'm never going to get back up again. My bad. Now, some of you know that I've had some pretty bad leg surgeries in the last few years. I'm just happy to be able to walk. And this is fantastic for me to be able to do all this stuff. We'll do a 2-knee toss. And John uses that weighted ball. What I'll do instead is I'll have in the pitcher's glove hand, I'll just put like a 3-kilo weight in his hand, or a 2-kilo weight in his glove, so we can get that feel of having the weight in the glove. I don't want that glove flying back here, all right? And so what they'll do is they play catch from this. They'll just be in this position here. That's basically a 2-knee toss. It's working on having a loose, free arm action, getting equal and opposite. You guys know what equal and opposite is, right? You've heard that term before, right? Does everybody know what that is? Oh, equal and opposite. Basically, when he's in this position here, his arms are equidistant from his core, basically, and in opposite parts of his body. And so if you turn around, maybe show that a little bit better. Okay. And what we're talking about here, when we're throwing, every one of these has a coaching point. When I'm watching kids do this stuff, I'll be looking for their symmetry. How smooth are they? Are they too tight when they're doing this? All the parts should be connected. It should be one smooth, solid motion. When they finish throwing, what do you have your kids do with their gloves? Here? Yeah, just right there. When they finish, we like that. We'll have them go. We might sometimes go from here to here. Just turn the glove in at the end, which is basically a bolt right there. And the glove turns in. And we can, as a coach, you can walk around. They're doing these warm-up drills. This takes about 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then they're up doing something else.
With a regular ball, or
We use it with a regular ball. You can do this with weighted balls also. Okay. Hershiser's. Oral Hershiser was a thanks, John. A Dodger pitcher. He's now an announcer. Does the Dodgers games. They're a color guy for the Dodgers. Very intelligent man. These are drills we do. I've always said the first thing, one of my absolutes is get that butt home, right? And Steve didn't mention it when he was showing his clips, but in every one of those clips, if you looked at it, this was going first. And if you look at Nolan Ryan in slow motion, you look at Kershaw in slow motion, if you look at the bottom, you're going to see what Steve was pointing out. But if you look at his hip, the first thing that really moves, the first movement, if you can do frame-by-frame analysis, is that butt. This thing here moves. This goes home first. So Hershiser drills, I'll go backwards a little bit. This is from, I got this off the internet because I didn't have time to do all this stuff with my kids, and I only had the one kid and one catcher. But here's a bunch of guys, and this is from, I think they're from UCLA. Another guy that I didn't mention that I've learned a lot from over the years is Tom House, who's still a pretty widely respected pitching coach. And you notice they start against the wall, they cross over their leg, and the first movement is they push their butt into the wall. So cross over, lift up, and boom. And that gets that first movement of getting the butt home, getting the mass moving toward the plate. All right, arm circles. We call this wax on, wax off from the movie The Karate Kid. Okay, and my kid, you're going to see this. He's doing it a little bit wrong, but this is the one we work with, the equal and opposite. And the arm circles are right here. And we're doing this thumbs down, doing little arm circles right in here, getting a little fluidity with the body, both arms rotating. You're trying to teach muscle memory here, keeping the weight on the back half and exploding the front hip when you throw. This is one of my kids. This is guy. Now maybe you'll see what he does with his front side here. This is our field, but it hasn't been taken care of. But this was mid-September. He's just basically getting some motion with his upper body, rotating his arms, and when he feels like he's ready, throw. And everything he's putting all the pieces together in one fluid motion. You can see his front side. You notice what he's doing with his front arm. This is the one thing I'll work. He's a sophomore kid. His brother was a good player for us a couple of years ago. He thinks he's as good as his brother. He's not yet. He will be. But notice he does not get that front side up high enough. And that's the one thing I'm going to have to work with him on. All right. Front foot over back. This is another. We just call this lift and go. With lift and go, it's good. This is a good drill for stopping rushing. So basically, you're going to start out in this position with your front foot over your back foot. Lift and go. And break your hands in the middle of your body. We're going to always talk about breaking the hands right here in the middle of the body. That's your core. So I'm starting here. I lift and go. Gradually accelerate. Create some rhythm. Just lifts and throws. Again, you can see this front side on this, but basically I just wanted to show you what the drill looks like. So cross over, lift up. Does he stay stabilized? Is he moving forward too soon? What do you think, guys? Bad work on the cameraman. That was me with my cell phone. So stay stabilized. Move backside. He's got to sit down a little bit more, I think, with his backside. What do you think, Steve?
Lower body.
Yeah, a lot more lower body. Step over. And go. He's ready to go. That's an easy drill to do. These are hookups. This is a little bit different. This is the drill that I learned from Brent Strom. And then Wolford started using it. There's a lot of guys that use it. You can go on the internet. You can find a lot of different variations of this. But in talking with Ron Wolford last year about this particular drill, he's trying to change his philosophy on this. And then this is basically a drill that gets that front hip going forward. And basically what you're doing is you lift your, and I can't do it because these legs may not hold me here, but I want to get in that position where I got my leg lift, where my front hip is a little bit higher than my back hip. I'm going to get it here and hold it. I can't hold it. I'll probably go rolling off. Because he does that, you think I'm have to sit down here, Steve? Come here, John.
The youngster do it.
Huh?
Let the youngster do it.
Okay.
Youngster, yeah. You,
Just face that.
is this how we're doing it?
That's the old hookups.
Okay.
That's the old ones. I'm going to show you a different way here.
All right.
So face them. All right.
All right.
I just want you to lift your stride leg. All right. And so your front hip's a little bit higher than your back hip. All right. And you're going to take that back foot, and this gets right into what Steve was talking about. And using this back foot, and just kind of rotate your back foot a little bit like this. So I'm going to be right here, and when I push down and rotate with my back foot. Okay, now I'll do it here without lifting my foot so far. Watch what happens to my front hip when I push down and rotate. What happened to my front hip? What happened? It went up, and what else did it do? It started to go this way. Because I'm pushing down and just rotate. I can hear my knee making out that noise when I'm doing this too. I'm pushing down, and I'm pushing here and just trying to twist it a little bit this way. So I'm right here, and what it does is it starts me going. And so what this does is it focuses on the back foot, the handbrake, and getting the butt home. And I tried to get this good on film here, and I don't know if it's going to really show here, but you can see I want my kids to have their foot flat, just as Steve talked about. It's like another way of looking at this, what Steve was mentioning, is if you take a triangle, a pyramid, and think of the foot sitting on the top. I can't maybe draw it here. Yes, you got this kind of triangle right here. Okay? The foot's right here. Shoot. Where if you're going to keep this, you're going to push this into the ground. Where are you going to push from? Where's your foot going to have to push this straight into the ground? This point at the bottom of the triangle. Where?
Middle of your foot.
Right here. This is the part that's got to push down, and that's what keeps your foot in that position that Steve was talking about. Am I right about that, Steve, or are you going to disagree?
Right.
Right, good. I don't want to be wrong. So,
You're okay, you're good.
okay. You'll see him, I don't know if it really shows in this. Is this the next slide, or is it still the right one?
You went some slides forward.
Okay. I did go forward, yeah. This is the old hooking, and this is something, I just picked this up off the internet. Basically does the same thing, but I think it's a little more awkward. I'd rather have my pitcher in this position here without his foot hooked back here, because you never hook your foot this way. You can do it in front or in back of the knee, as this guy's doing it right here. He's throwing a weighted ball, I believe. And what he's going to do is he's just going to start moving forward. And notice as the hip is moving forward, the foot will come off. The body will adjust to that. The body will not let him fall over on his face. Your foot will come off the back leg when it's ready. And these are what they're called hook hooks. It's getting that front side forward. Getting that front side going, and this is also linear too, because where's this hip going to go? You don't want to go into our first base, you don't want to go into the third base. Where's it going? It's going here. It's going right toward the catcher. Linear. Crow hops. You're just basically lifting your stride to your balance point, hop 3 times and throw. So I can't do it here, John could, but you're here at this point here, just hop. Hop, 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 throw. You do this a few times, kids find their own balance point. They get to the right break point with their body. It's good for gathering the body in balance. Watch where the core stays when kids are doing this. John, can you do one of these for me?
Sure.
Just real quick.
3?
You can do it right. You don't have to. Just do it right there where you are in the wall. Right there in the corner.
Down.
Just yeah, just right there. Boom, 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 throw. And you do this drill anyway, don't you?
It's a variation of that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's boom, 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 throw. And they're keeping their balance. You watch when you're watching them, when they're doing this thing, watch their core. Watch where the core stays. Make sure it stays centered. Watch the pivot foot position, especially on the last hop. All right, that's the back side here. Where is the foot positioned? Some kids will be a little bit up on an angle. You saw Sandy Koufax had the back 3 pleats of his shoe on the rubber, right? Some kids are not going to want to be parallel. They're going to be a little bit this way or a little bit that way. And wherever they land when they're doing this on flat ground and a gym floor, that's their natural position. By the way, how do you find the natural position of a kid where should be throwing the ball from as a pitcher? We try to train something. How many of you have tried to get your pitchers to lift their arms and go and be a straight overhand pitcher? Maybe the kid's throwing out here and you don't like it out there, so you're trying to get him to be up here, up on top. Put a kid in the outfield, give him a ball and tell him to throw to home plate. Wherever his arm slot is when he's doing that, that's his natural arm slot. Don't try to change it. So when he gets on the mound, that's where his arm slot should be also. So the crow hop drill, jumping. I love this one. Again, it's an idea. It's to get. A scout once told me that once you get in this position, everything goes home, and it goes home hard. You don't take your time. You get here, and boom, everything goes. All right. So in this drill here, these are. I got this one off the internet because a lot of people do this. But the pitchers are just getting, they get set. We do all these in the stretch position too. They jump back. As soon as that foot lands, they should be, boom, starting to go forward. Because that's here. That's when you're here. So jump back, go. Again, you can watch your glove position. Some of these guys probably should have their glove up a little bit higher. This guy on the end closest to us here is really dropping his gloves down here at this point. I like to have that glove in the box up on top. All right. In fact, all those guys probably need to work on that. Torque throws. I love these ones. It's just a simple dry drill. You start at release point. So I'm going to start my pitchers at that position that Steve was talking about. Foot plant, right here. Or foot strike, or whatever you want to call it. And here's where my arms are going to be. My hands together at this point. And then we do a slow motion rewind into the L position and throw from there. And so when the feet stay in place, they rotate. They don't bring the glove back, so they stay right here. The arm comes back, and then boom, the backside forward. The backside explodes. It's more of a rhythm drill, same arm action as a 2-knee drill. Allow the player to pivot back foot for power. And you make sure you can watch what Steve was talking about that back foot pivoting. Not too soon. All right? Watch when they're doing this drill. If they start here, and they get to this point here and they're ready to throw and they're already doing this, that's too early. It shouldn't. When should that be happening? When should that foot be pivoting? Where should they be? Right, again, I can't get my arm up there, but right about here. Extension. Boom. Now that foot pivots over. and watch their backside. We concentrate on exploding the back hip. I'll tell them, I talk about making sure that you get your belly button past your front hip on all of our drills. Belly button past the front hip. Head to target. Search out the catcher's mitt. These out there. Anybody know who Eric Heiden was? If you're from Wisconsin, you know who he is. Right? And you grew up in the Netherlands. Well, you done some stuff in the Netherlands. You didn't grow up there from here, but there's a lot of speed skaters in the Netherlands. Eric Heiden was a Wisconsin Olympic speed skater. I don't know how many gold medals he's won at the Olympics over the years. It's a lot, right? And we call these Eric Heidens. It's basically, and I learned this drill from Brent Strom. He called it rock and roll. I call it Eric Heiden slides. Weight to the inside of the feet. Shuffle and skate. Thrust under control, get time and throw. And when you see the video will show you. Focus on stride length. You really want to get your stride out. Get out. Test your limit on slides. Right? Belly button past front hip. This helps get your release point further out without saying extension. And without saying, I like to use the word finish. I want them to finish their pitches. So basically I can't do it, but we're going back and forth. We're just like, you ever watch speed skaters? When they do their drills? They do drills in one place, and they're just working about sliding back and forth, sliding back and forth. And that's what this drill is doing here. He's not doing it quite right, but his feet are too close together. But he's sliding back and forth. He's jumping more than sliding. He should be more slide. Should be a lot more slide in his movements here. And you can hear my voice on the audio. I'm telling him what to do here. But once he gets to that point, I want him to really get out. He didn't get out very much. Boom. Get out, throw. Once he's ready, he goes. Again, we're working here on all the other mechanics that I've talked about, all the other movements. But it's a drill that you can get pitchers to feel what they're supposed to be doing at a certain point in their throwing process. And that's what a drill like this does. Boom, boom, get out, throw. He didn't do it well enough there. If I really want to work on him, I got to get him to get out on that last step. I want to challenge him. Challenge your pitchers to get out as far as they can. Boom. I'll just have the pitchers in a line. They're doing this, sliding back and forth, and I'll walk behind them, and I'll touch them back on the shoulder. When I touch their shoulder, they got to throw. So it's a boom. It's an explosion. We want them to explode, and that's what I want the pitchers doing. This is one of my favorite drills, and this guy does not do it quite right. But it's basically a good finish drill. You can do this in the windup or the stretch. One hop, you're going to try to, what we're trying to do with this drill is put the ball down in the strike zone, low. And basically we're trying to one hop this to the catcher. This kid in the video hops it too soon, throws it, he tries to almost bury it in the ground. I want pitchers to focus on spinning the ball. There we go with that spin rate thing that you see all the analytic guys talking about. Velocity is not important here. I want them to work on the bottom of the strike zone, getting the ball out in front and finishing their pitch. So he's going to get out here. He should be really aiming at. This catcher's not doing a very good job either. He was a freshman kid that I pulled out and gave us some equipment that day. So it was actually a nice day in September. I heard it was about -5 or 6 yesterday. He's trying to bury it too soon. He should be throwing almost to the front part of the plate. This throw's good for catchers too. It's a great drill for catchers. Because when the pitchers are doing this, with the catchers, they're working on blocking the balls. They're working on staying down in front. But basically what he's got to do, notice how, if you look at, if I could go back a few clips here, this kid here, on this drill, his arm gets much further out in front than it does on any of those other clips. One more time here. He's got to have intent. Quick inside, set position. Again, this one promotes an aggressive arm path and teaches the kid how to have efficiency with his arm. We'll start him in He's a right-hander, we'll start him left-handed. So, right, left, boom. Right, left throw. And you can see right away. You see, actually, he's keeping his arm up a lot higher on this, just because of the drill itself. Watch his arm path, good arm path there, good extension. Okay. Back. This is their favorite drill. Oh no, this is the second. One more in. Starting your back to home, take a step, turn and throw. Focus on the front foot out in front all the way. This helps keep your break point in the middle of your body. And I don't have a film of this. You just have to start backwards to the play. All he's going to have to do is turn, boom, go. Turn and throw. And again, it helps them pick up the focus right and pick up the glove right away. Keeps their hands, you want to keep their hands break point right here in the middle part of their body. This is the favorite drill. Every kid has his favorite drill. Call it turn and burn. I think I got that term from Brent Strom. We call it cornerback drill, which is an American football term. Basically, you start in your defensive back position, or defensive back in American football. Glove foot forward, bent at the waist. So I'm right here, bent at the waist. It's like I'm guarding. If I'm a football player and there's a tight end or a receiver coming out, I'm going to guard him this way. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to run backwards. I'm not going to turn my back to him and run to a spot. I'm going to watch him, trying to keep moving backwards as quick as I can with my feet. Back pedal, stay low. Keep your chest over your toes. Keep your hands together. Turn and burn. We throw into mats in the gym. Outside we can throw into. We also. I don't have the. What do they call those things, John? Those cow things you use?
Cow mats.
Cow mats. I don't have cow mats. I'm going to get some of those things. And instead of throwing it in the fence. But we do this. Kids love this. We do it with a radar gun. This will be their fastest throw of their life. This kid here is throwing, we had him at 75 tops last year. Hopefully he's going to be around 80 this year. But when he does this drill, he throws 79, 81, all right? Because all he's thinking about is intent of throwing. This is turn and burn. Bang, 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 boom. There he didn't really do it there. I said, hey, you weren't really moving. You got to move quick. You got to move quick. Just let yourself go. Still not good. Still not good. Now, this is the last one. Watch the difference on this last throw here. All right, he's going to back pedal quick. Boom. Look at his finish. Look how much further he fit. Yes. Steve, question?
No, not really a question, but would you be able to redo the entire video and try to pick up one thing, why that last throw was so much better than the two previous ones?
That throw right there. Here it comes again.
What is he using in that last throw? What he's not using in that first two throws? Absolutely.
See it right there?
Much more hips, he
Much
rolled
more,
over
right.
his back foot a little bit, and the other ones, he kind of like,
If you could have heard my audio with this, his intent. I was talking about intent. His intent was not there in the first two. He was just doing it. Just go, this is the last thing we're going to do. He had to get to work. We're trying to finish this up. I was leaving for New Zealand in a couple days, and I wanted to get this done because I had to edit all this film that I took. And the last one right there, he really had intent.
by saying intent, like you said earlier, on the Bernstein principle, the body will organize itself. And just by saying intent, we found a way of doing it with more intent by using his hips more.
And he did it on his own. I didn't tell him how to do it.
Absolutely.
I would never tell, I just tell them what they have to do. Get to that point, do it. Those are drills, we don't do you can't do all these drills in one day. Pick drills out. What are you trying to work on? You working an arm path with your pitchers? You working on their balance, on their core, be working on their finish. For about the last 4 years now that I'm coaching, on my t-shirt I give the kids, we have the word finish. And that not only means pitchers finish, but we finish games. How many teams don't finish a game? You get ahead 5-0, it's the third inning, and you think, oh, this game's over with. I don't know if you watched the World Series at all, right? I went to sleep with the Astros with a 3-run lead on that Sunday night game. We were watching, my wife and I went up north in northern Wisconsin for a couple days, and it was a Sunday night, and I'm watching this on TV, and the Astros are ahead. I'm full for the Astros anyway. Kind of laid down, started falling asleep, but the TV's still on. I thought, I'm going to watch this a little bit. And when I finally woke up again, it was tied. And then the Astros went ahead again. Oh, it's good. I'll go back to sleep again. Turn this off, turn the TV off. I can't rest if I don't know how the game's coming out. Turn it back on. It's tied again. What a game. Finish the game, guys. And that's why I say finish on all my shirts. That's it. We're going to break for lunch. I've already gone 5 minutes over. And we're going to be back here at 1 o'clock.
Pretty sure it's 2.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2:30. Thanks, guys, for your attention.